listening to The Starting Zone, a podcast about World of Warcraft and the people who play it. And now, here are your hosts.
Well, hello and welcome to The Starting Zone, the podcast about World of Warcraft and people who play it. Today is November 30th, 2025, and my name is Spencer Downey. Thank you so much for listening and subscribing to the podcast. I am joined today, as always, by my co-host Jason Lucas. Jason, happy end of November.
Yeah, how did that happen? 2025 is almost all the way over already. I don't know where it went. I had some stuff that was like, oh yeah, this year I'm going to do this. Nah, that didn't really happen this year. So it definitely ain't going to happen now because I'm all ready for my long winter's nap period, I think. So happy Sunday to you. We're here. It's been kind of an intense week. I mean, we had big holiday season in the U.S. and I was really busy with some other stuff. So kind of a light WoW week for me. I have a feeling that's not going to be the case with the week that we're moving into, however, because it's patch week coming up, and then we got some big news this week about midnight stuff. So I've definitely been ramping down quite a bit with War Within, with retail WoW, modern, live, whatever you want to call it. And I think I'm going to continue. Like, I'm not going to go do all the stuff on Koresh anymore, on a weekly basis. I'm not going to be rotating my alts through the stuff. But there's going to be a bunch of new stuff to do this week, and we're ramping straight up into new expansion and everything like that. And obviously, housing this week then becomes a whole other segment of the game to play. It's a whole new thing to interact with and figure out, okay, what stuff do I want and where do I get it? Do I have what I want or not? And that's going to be a whole completely different element of the game to explore, which I think will definitely. It'll probably keep me more engaged than doing the same weeklies and stuff that I've been doing since August. Absolutely, yeah. I know a lot of posts went out on different community discords and whatnot like that I'm a part of about like housing and how to, whose neighborhood you're going to be in and housing stuff and all this sort of business happening. I still haven't settled on what I end up wanting to do as far as neighborhood stuff goes, but it is happening, man. Tuesday, if you're someone who has pre-ordered Midnight, you get early access to housing on Tuesday. It is that close to when the neighborhoods are going to open. The servers are going to get slammed with millions of people trying to create houses. And I will say, as someone who has played a lot of survival crafters, when a lot of people are building something inside one area and generating things over and over again, servers take a big hit. So I'm really curious as to how they've structured all this and what this is going to feel like, because I didn't notice any issues at all on alpha. But I didn't know how many people had access to that. I didn't notice a lot of issues on beta when it came to like lag and building stuff. But again, I don't know how many people were building that. I know there's going to be a lot of people building and doing things in these neighborhoods on Tuesday. So I'll be curious to see if it's one of those cases where the servers can handle like, hey, this person is generating 400 chairs and this person is generating a bunch of torches and this person is generating, right? And all these things are being created inside of their homes to be able to decorate them the way they want, and what this ends up looking like. So I'm excited for it, man. Tuesday is going to be really, really big. It's the 11.2.7 launch. So we also kick off Turbulent Timeways and a bunch of other stuff on Tuesday as we sort of round into that, hey, here's the last big update we're going to get this year, and probably the last big update we're going to get, well, outside of, I guess, technically pre-patch would be the next big one that we get. But that's a couple months away. So this is the big one for now, and we'll see how it goes. As far as WoW this past week goes, though, one thing I want to point out just before we get into meat of the show is that as of press time, we do not have 11.2.7 notes.
Yes.
So we will not be covering that stuff. We did talk about the release date and the features for 11.2.7 on last week's episode. So we have really nothing else to add to that this week. If there's any cool surprises or anything that end up I assume the notes are going to come out tomorrow, Monday. If there's any little nuggets in there, we'll talk about them next week.
Yeah, well, and also just first experiences will happen next week too. So there'll be a lot more to talk about 11.2.7 next week for sure. But yeah, a little strange that we didn't get a Friday or a Thursday set of notes for what they're doing. So my assumption is we'll probably get a Monday afternoon or evening post that comes out that says, hey, here are the official notes, and servers will be down for the majority of the day. And you'll be like, okay, well, that's, that is the assumption I think I would go into Tuesday with. Once again, as I've sort of learned over the years, I would never take the Tuesday of a launch off from work. I would take the Wednesday off, because by the time you get home from work on Tuesday, that's when stuff will just start to be available. So for the people who work the average sort of job schedule time, my job is all over the place at the moment, but I have 10 p.m. to 3 a.m. shifts. Isn't that fun? It's a little wild at the moment. So
yeah, we do have an 8-hour maintenance schedule for North America for December 2nd. And I got a feeling that they might hit the over on that one. I don't 8 hours is a long time, but it's such a huge addition to the game with the housing data. We might not be playing on Tuesday at all, to be honest, but the live ops team is going to do their level best.
It would have been so interesting if they'd actually just said, like, hey, best hopes for Tuesday, but we're just going to give everyone a day of game time, just because we know it's going to be that bad, right? Like just preemptively gone, let's set everyone's expectations as low as they possibly can for being able to get on Tuesday, and if they can get in, then great. But yeah, it's I don't know. Anyways, it's an interesting thing to see them do a big launch like this. These launches I always expect them to be rough, man. I always expect them to be really rough. But yes, this past week in World of Warcraft, I did not get to do a whole lot. I was still busy wrapping up a lot of family stuff, and so I was not in on raids this past week. I am in on raids tonight. I am seeing Dimmy tonight. I'm doing a bunch of raid stuff tonight, so that'll be fun. I'm looking forward to that. World of Warcraft wise, though, I poked at Legion a little bit for Remix, and that was really just sort of doing a loop of stuff. It wasn't really too much, and then there was just a little bit of the anniversary event and the turkey event that we have going on right now, the Thanksgiving event we have going on right now inside World of Warcraft. So I did that, and then that was about it. Got my turkey shooter, so we're all good.
Yeah, that's all you need, really. They did add some new stuff to Pilgrim's Bounty this year, which I didn't really know about until this morning, to be honest. They didn't do a Pilgrim's Bounty post on the website, which usually will include all the new stuff. But, there's a daily quest, and you can choose a reward from the daily quests, and it's either a piece of Mog or you get a satchel with some stuff in it. The satchels can contain these backpacks that have, like, bread loaves sticking out of them, and there are 4 color schemes on that. So now I'll know for next year, okay, I'll make sure I do those. I mean, this week for me was just out of control anyway, so it just wasn't going to happen. But I ended up doing some of that today. Didn't get any of the new backpacks, but we did get we got a raid night in this week, and we have a bunch of new faces around the raid team. We had a little bit of an issue with the recruiting funnel for Zeros to Heroes. The tool we use is the website guildsofwow.com. And because we have such a big community and we have so many teams, and you don't need to fill out a formal application to receive a guild invite, we found that people were just kind of getting caught in this limbo where they weren't in any team's funnel and nobody was really like moving them along. Oh. So we've been a bit more proactive about that. We loosened up a few people out of that filter while I was on vacation, and so we got a good 4 or 5 new people on the team, which is great.
Nice, yeah.
So that, we had a nice healthy group for Tuesday. I think we had like 22 or something by the time we started pulling, and that's 2 days before US Thanksgiving. Like, that's a pretty healthy turnout for an old tier and a holiday week. We ended up doing 10 bosses, so heroic clear, mythic first 2. Nice night of raid for one night for the week. Afterwards, I did some keys. I only got 3 keys done that night, so I got to get at least one more in between tonight and tomorrow, just so I get the extra vault choice. There is still some stuff I'd love to have out of vault, so it's kind of worth doing. Does it matter? No. I can live without it, obviously, but it would be cool to have, and it's just fun to do them, so I'll be looking for that. This week was kind of the week where it really flipped, and I went, okay, I'm going to spend my WoW time in Remix. All the content is out now, right? With Argus and the Antorus raid being out and everything. I had some catching up to do, so I said, this makes more sense to me. Even though I don't love this, I still want to pursue it. I want to get the rewards from it. This makes more sense than doing just another round of stuff in Koresh that does nothing for me. So I hit max infinite knowledge, which is great. It's really kind of not hard right now. Now that all the content is out, there are so many achievements that give infinite knowledge. You can kind of pick and choose your way through to get to your 36. So that helps. That's a nice bonus on powering up. I'm just a shade under 300% verse. So, not the strongest, but like a third of the way up the ladder, getting there. I went and did Broken Shore stuff. So I got the Charlemagne, the Fell Corrupted Charlemagne mogs from doing the Broken Shore achievements, which are really cool. You get the two-handed Charlemagne, and then you get the Shalator and Elamain one-handers, and they're all, gross fell looking. Then I went over and started doing Argus stuff. I got that done, so I got the Bulwark of Manaroth shield and back piece. It's the same model, but one you wear in your back, one you can use as an actual shield.
Yeah.
So that's cool. So, and then I started doing some Antorus. I got 2 Antoruses done earlier this week. So then you get all the currency to buy the different color variants of the Scythe of the Unmaker. There's like 3 of them. I already had the 2-handed Tayshalak. I didn't get a discount, but I bought the 1-handed Tayshalak. So I have like a really nice selection of all the unique stuff. I'm not even sure if there's any unique stuff from the event that I don't have at this point, because I bought out like the unique vendors early on. Yeah, the next thing I really have to pay attention to is achievements that unlock the housing decor. So I want to make sure I get that stuff while the event's going on. But I've now kind of completed all the content that I care about in terms of getting achievements done for whatever reason, or, getting unlocks or what have you. So I'm basically just bronze farming. I need about like 2.5 million more bronze, which is a little daunting, but I have a feeling they might do something to crank up bronze yield or something as we move into the last, month and a half of the event. That would be nice. And then I gotta reckon with, like, do I level up more characters?
Yeah.
Because I want to level up a Demon Hunter, because Demon Hunters can buy a unique toy. It's only offered to Demon Hunters, and it's a very low drop chance toy from Mythic Gul'dan and Nighthold. It's the Skull of Gul'dan toy, basically.
Okay.
So that seems like a thing that, even though it's available in the main game, like I can go farm that in Legion to my heart's content after the event is over, it seems like it would be more worth leveling a Demon Hunter and collecting 100k bronze on that Demon Hunter and just buying it, right?
Yeah.
And so, and then if I level a Demon Hunter, that means I'll also get the unique Fell Corrupted Demon Hunter class mount, just for the achievement for leveling it up, which then saves me another 20k bronze. And then the question becomes, do I level up more characters and I get the mounts for free and I get bronze along the way and whatever, or do I just play my overpowered tune and just blindly farm the bronze, just do whatever I want and just do that? And it's kind of a tough call. I don't need any other characters leveled in my account. I already have more characters than I can manage. So I'd be like making a new character, leveling it up and deleting it or something, probably. Right. And then, you have the gearing progression and everything in Legion Remix is a little weird, because you just kind of get whatever you get. So I'm kind of leaning towards, I just farm bronze. I level the Demon Hunter, then just farm bronze. But that's kind of where I'm at with the mode. It's so weird. The weirdest thing to me is when I see people who are like, Remix is great, it's so fun, retail feels so bad now, or like this should be the default experience for playing WoW as you level up. And it's like, there's not a game here. Yeah. I'm not playing a game. I don't. All I'm doing is collecting stuff. It's just a clicking simulator.
It's a Facebook game, is what.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's like Cookie Clicker, yes. World of Warcraft edition exactly or something. What it is. Yeah. So I mean, listen, to each their own. As we always love to say on the show, like there's no wrong way to play, but I am not in the camp of Remix is great and the main game should be more like Remix and we need Remix all the time. Yeah. I feel the complete opposite. I would be thrilled if this was the last time we ever did a Remix event.
It's a lot. I think it's a really neat event. I think it really has a group of people that it applies to in a big way. And to be clear, like January 19th is when Legion Remix ends, for those who are curious. So like we have the whole holiday season coming up, where hopefully people have some time off and they can really jam and enjoy that for that period of time. But I know people who are already, capped out on their verse, their 999 verse. They're basically done with Legion. They can do anything they want and one shot whatever they're trying to hit. And I am with you in the sense of I don't feel like removing all of the challenge and turning the game into essentially a clicker simulator like you talked about is the correct path ever when it comes to this, but people do earn that power. And so like the first 2 weeks of Remix, I think, are the weeks where you really are getting kind of some of that experience of like, oh, this is neat, but with the new heroic, outdoor world tier, it's still a little dangerous and kind of neat, and we're sort of working our way through it. And I'm excited to see what that feels like in live. It to me is just a case of, okay, but then you ramp so hard, so fast, so powerful that the game just stops, as you said, being a game in a sense, right? It becomes a spend 30 to 45 minutes visiting these locations and just walking through them, right? Like I've done old mount farming inside World of Warcraft and old transmog farming inside World of Warcraft live game, where I go back several expansions and just walk through raids and just one shot everything and whatever. That's not enjoyable to me, right? I don't get joy out of, ooh, maybe this time I'll get whatever it is out of this kind of lottery gambling chance of killing a boss, and maybe you get that transmog. And it really is to me the most basic level of hunting that fix, hunting that hit of, ooh, did I get this? Right? Is doing that sort of gameplay. Now a lot of people love that type of gameplay. I'm just saying it's not for me. That's not what I want World of Warcraft to just be across the board. Is I walk into an area, I one shot everything in that area. It doesn't matter if it's bosses or whatever. I just collect up all the loot, and that loot only has meaning on a cosmetic level because I clearly outgear all of this anyways. So like that to me just isn't super interesting. So yeah, I would be comfortable if they didn't do another remix. That would not bother me if they chose to do that and chose to invest that time towards something else. That wouldn't bother me at all. But I do know that it hits for some people. So sure, if that's what you want and you need, I'm glad the player base is there for it. I just think Blizzard has the job of going through the players that are engaging in Remix and trying to gauge whether or not they're doing that because they're enjoying the experience or because they're just here to get rewards and they just want to get the rewards and get out, right? It's the same issue we've seen with other game modes for World of Warcraft, where it's like, are you here because you're having fun? No, I hate this. I don't want to be doing this with my time, but I feel I have to because I want that mount. And you're like, okay, well, that is not why you should be doing this. And we should figure out a different way for you to get that mount, or a different way for us to do this, in my opinion, as someone who, might put myself into a game designer headspace every now and then. That to me is a bad reason to have people playing your game and engaging with your game. So.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that like everybody has to be where you and I are at with it. There are people that legitimately like it, and that's great. But yeah, I agree with your point that like maybe there's alternatives to offering this stuff, because the collectors are the people who really want to max it out. They're going to do whatever you put in front of them if you give them those clear avenues, right? And it doesn't matter if it's good, bad, or indifferent. They're going to do it. And so when you look at the engagement, it's going to be up. So
yeah,
I don't know. It's tricky. I think it would be, I can't remember the name of the event, Collector's Bounty. Is that what it was called? That we had this summer.
Yeah.
Like that was
way more.
That
engaging.
was pretty great.
Yeah.
I would love to see that come in. Maybe not monthly or whatever, but twice a year or something. Hit those windows where .7 cycle or whatever stuff's a little bit moldy. Because the cool thing about that, too, is it's in the live game. So it encourages people to log into their regular tunes in the regular environments that they play in. Maybe while they're there, hey, you know what? I'm in here doing some Ice Crown Citadel. What are my friends doing? Let's do some Keystones. Let's do some other stuff like that's relevant in the game. Yeah, I mean, Remix is a multiplayer game just by default because you can put 20 people in the raid. You don't need them, right? Like that. Everybody's not performing a vital function to what's happening. So it just feels very anti-gameplay, and it's not feeling better as I power up. It feels good that I could do stuff faster, but it's not like, oh, well, now I have found the fun. I still have never found it.
All right. With that, let's hop into what's going on this week in World of Warcraft. All right, this week in World of Warcraft is the World Quest bonus event, where the Sign of the Emissary buff is up, increasing reputation gains from World Quests by 50%, and there's a quest to complete 10 of them, which gets you 2,500 rep to the major faction of your choice. Remember, there's also like other rep buffs that are currently up. Darkmoon Fair kicks off as well this week. It's going to be happening on the 7th or something like that. We'll get to it a little bit later in the notes. So just keep that in mind of like, you can have some overlap where you get extra rep with your rep. So if you get that 2,500 rep reward, don't turn it in until you have the other rep buffs going on, right? That's a good thing to keep in mind.
Yeah, pretty good if you're trying to check stuff off the list for end of expansion. You know, I think Goblin Cartels is probably one that people have not. They might be behind on. That middle patch always ends up being kind of lightly attended, and this one had a really kind of brutal rep grind. So I think you can apply it to that. So that, you know, that would be my advice if you're getting back in and trying to catch up on War Within stuff. It is a good week for that. You know, just even the bonus from doing the quests themselves adds up pretty fast. So yeah, just keep an eye on that if you still need reps somewhere in War Within.
Yeah, and we also, you know, as we mentioned earlier in the show, we have Turbulent Timeways kicking off this week. So we're going to have Shadowlands to start. It's going to be on December 2nd, with Shadowlands being the first expansion that we're exploring. So that'll have the other side, Spires of Ascension, Plaguefall, Necrotic Wake, Sanguine Depths, and Halls of Atonement as the dungeons that you can go in and run 5 of. And that'll get you your cache of heroic Manaforge Omega gear, because all the caches become heroic during Turbulent Timeways, as well as 655s dropping and the vendor selling 632s, and you'll have access to the vendor cosmetics and rewards that you want to buy off the vendor from that. And of course, if you complete 4 of these, you then get your buff, right, that you're wanting to get for the week towards the achievement of having that buff every week for 5 weeks, and that will unlock that for you. December 9th, so the week after, next week, is going to be Mists of Pandaria, and then it's going to go Classic, and then Legion, and then Cataclysm, Burning Crusade, Warlords of Draenor, Battle for Azeroth, Wrath of the Lich King, and then back to Shadowlands for February 3rd when all this wraps up. So this is wrapping up it presumably for when pre-patch launches, since it's a month before when we know the expansion is launching, which we'll also talk about later in the show, because we got a release date for midnight. So yes, it is an exciting time. Turbulent Timeways, don't miss out on it. We did talk it through last week about the mount, where they have basically 3 mounts that you can choose from this year, where the first one you just get for free, whatever one you want of the 3, and then the other 2 you can buy with time lost badges. So you use your time walking badges to be able to buy it. So if that's something you're looking to get, then you can do that later on and get the other 2.
Yep, and this is, you know, it is the Shadowlands debut, so there is going to be there's a new vendor with new stuff, right? New Shadowlands themed mogs and everything, you know, that we typically see on the time walking vendors. So something new to check out. If you got a bunch of badges sitting around, even if you don't want to do this, you know, you don't, if you have the badges, and you could be getting a lot right now from Anniversary too. So yeah, just some new stuff to check out and buy. And yeah, your first chance to start working on the achievement for this round to get your free mount and the right to buy the other mounts early.
Yes, exactly. As far as the weekly event goes, as I said, it was WarQuest bonus event week, but we also have Choose One week coming up this week. So hopefully that Choose One aligns with WorldQuest, because then you can just sort of knock them all out at the same time. Again, though, just keeping in mind for the reputation buffs that are currently out there, you have access to. So just be sure you're combining those together, because that'll help you out a lot. The world bosses for the week. We got Reshinor still up, dropping 688 Warbound loot 1 time a week. So you can get up there and knock that out if you're looking for it. We believe Mythic Plus wise, it's a Pulsar week, where we have the crystals that spawn around players that need to be soaked by other players. And so, you know, you just sort of help by soaking up the crystals for your friends and making sure that you soak all those up, and you get yourself a Mastery and Leech buff for doing that. I mean, current dungeon pool is really favorable to this, so this is one of the affixes that's almost like a non-affix, which I just enjoy. This is what affixes sort of should be to me, of, hey, you just get a buff, basically, as long as you're paying attention. That, to me, is a great thing. Doesn't add a bunch of bars, doesn't make things a problem, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm down for a good Pulsar week. Yeah,
man, when the stacked up buff kicks in, it really feels good. You know, I know Mastery is not great for every single spec, or it's not preferable or whatever, but when you get 20% of it just on top of your very late in the season gear, and then you also get 10% Leech on top of that, it feels like a nice spike. It's pretty easy to deal with this one most of the time, like you mentioned. Just make sure like you can't catch your own crystal, right? It's like a dog chasing its tail or whatever. Try not to move around, like post up somewhere that your teammates can easily get it. Don't move around too much. Or
run your crystal into someone.
Your tank, right? Yeah, like your tank is going to be stationary in a lot of situations. Yeah. Run yours through the tank, but try not to be doing laps around the party hoping that somebody notices that your crystal's still spinning around. Like we'll get it. It'll be fine. But yeah, it should be that this week. We've had this weird inside-out rotation, and so now we should be around to sort of the flipped. Instead of Pulsar Fortified, it should be Pulsar Tyrannical this week, unless they turn the rotation inside out again, and then it might be Ascendant Tyrannical. So we know it's going to be Tyrannical at level 7. That much I'm pretty sure of. And beyond that, we'll see what they do.
Yeah. WoW's 21st anniversary event, as Jason mentioned, is still running at the moment. This means you can still get that additional 20% reputation and experience buff from the anniversary event. So be sure you're picking that up early on. And it's going to run all the way through to December 7th. So you've still got another week left of time over at the Caverns of Time. If you're doing the mount competition or trying on different transmogs or listening to different stories and participating by throwing stuff at the stage or cheering at the right times, then be sure you're taking advantage of that. Also, still all those world bosses that are currently up can still take part in knocking all those out, getting up the there's a new armor set for you to collect there transmog wise and a new title if you were someone who was around and did everything last year. There's still the time walking version of Blackrock Depths, so if you're looking to get in there and do some BRD, you can do that. That is the Raid Finder difficulty that's in there, so obviously an easy way to get some more time warp badges as well as some more transmog from that place, or even just some early gear for a character. If it's a newer character that you've been leveling up throughout the anniversary event, that's an easy way to get some early gear on that character as well. And yeah, just there's lots of stuff to buy. If you did not participate in the anniversary event last year, there's a lot of stuff you can buy with time warp badges. So just be sure you're taking advantage of that while you can. I kind of wish there was like, if you got the anniversary event buff, it increased the amount of time warp badges you earned as well by like 50% or something. Like, I wish that part of doing the anniversary event gave you a big time warp badges buff. That would be fun. I think that would be a neat thing to have tied in here.
Considering that's the currency for the whole event, right? Like some way to buff that up would be kind of cool. It's got to be real intimidating at this point. Like if you missed the 20th or you didn't really buy too much from it, it's like this is the last full week for this. The anniversary is over. Yeah. By the time we speak again, it'll be over. It's just minuscule compared to the event last year, where it was basically an entire 2-month patch cycle.
Like 2.5 months, yeah.
Yeah. So, true, man. I mean, I took advantage of it, and I got pretty much everything that year. And it's like, okay, well, there's not that much to get this year. Yep. I'm already done.
Yep.
But if you didn't do that last year, I don't know how you ever you'll be catching up on this for years to come, probably. So that would be great if there was some way to get some extra badges out of the deal, maybe for next year, something they could put on the list for a cool bonus. I feel like one of the great things about Anniversary always used to be the XP buff, right?
Yeah.
And that's cool, but it's not as big of a deal as it used to be. Leveling is way faster than it was. There's many other sources of XP buffs. There's just nothing really unique about having an XP buff tied to it. So, that could be a cool twist on the anniversary event is just start dumping badges on people, keep it a 2-3 week event, whatever, but give people a way to get more bang for their buck when it comes to working on their collections.
Yeah, I think that'd be really fun.
It'd be awesome too, just for all the new time walking vendors, right? Just in this expansion alone, we got 3 new time walking vendors. I think that whole economy could use a little bit of a refresh.
Yeah, I would really like if they added in some way to acquire more badges during the anniversary event, since it is about celebrating older WoW and collecting. I think that's where I would lean in on some of this. And they can just roll it in. Just be like, yeah, the anniversary buff is, 20% more experience, 20% more reputation, and 50% more badges. And you're like, great. And so like anything you do that earns badges earns you 50% more badges. So the first thing you do when you sort of log in each day is just do the anniversary event to just get that buff rolling, and then, get out there and do whatever it is you wanted to do that's going to earn you more badges. I think would be really fun. So, yes. And as I mentioned, Darkmoon Faire is kicking off. It's running from the 7th of December until the 13th of December. So if you're someone who wants the additional experience and reputation buff from that, that's where you can head on down to the fair, ride the carousel or the griffin. Either of those will give you that buff. And then you can also do, the myriad of other things that are there. You can do pet battles to get pet battle tokens. It's a great way to earn a bunch of pet battle tokens. It's just doing Darkmoon Faire every time it rolls around each day. You can do that. You can get the Dance achievements that are associated with that if you're looking to get those. You can do all the racing and get those achievements that are there. You can do your professions if you're still looking for some skill ups. Remember, older professions is what this defaults to once you've maxed out your max profession. So if you're like, hey, I want to level up my Cataclysm expansion professions, it might default to that once you're done doing the current live expansion profession skill ups. That'll roll back to that. But then you also get knowledge for the current live one if that's something you're trying to max out. Maybe you chose jewel crafting and are now like, man, I need 300 more knowledge for jewel crafting than I did for doing enchanting or something. It is one of those weird situations, this expansion, where like blacksmithing and jewel crafting were just like severe outliers of how much knowledge you needed to be able to max those out. So that's certainly something that'll help out there. And if you're just collecting Darkmoon Faire tokens, get yourself your dirigible. That's a noble task as well, man. I definitely celebrated getting mine, and I've been saving up tokens since for the next big mount they add to Darkmoon Faire. You never know when that's going to roll out, and they'll do an update for it. So looking forward to that.
Yeah, true. And also, on the professions kind of idea, that the housing decor stuff is going to be tied into older professions. There's supposed to be stuff from every expansion, basically.
Yep.
I don't know if Darkmoon Faire stuff is a super efficient way to get
probably
legacy crafting profession skills, but hey, you know what? Maybe if you're stuck on this one really annoying kind of breakpoint, it might be worth it. Just something to keep in mind. It's a bit of an outlier, but the legacy professions are going to suddenly have a really defined place in the game as of Tuesday, whereas they've been mostly kind of useless ever since really the first expansion came out. It was like, well, the new stuff is really all that matters. Now there is going to be stuff that you might want, or that somebody might want, or that other players on the server might want from legacy professions. So just another angle to approach the game from, really.
You get back out there and start farming true silver again for all the cutlery and doorknobs and window frames and paintings and all that kind of stuff you're going to end up needing. I don't actually know if true silver is one of those ingredients. I'm just saying older profession materials may suddenly come back into, hey, there's a high demand. Yeah. We never know.
It could be. And even if it's not on Tuesday, that doesn't mean it won't ever be, because they could just add stuff to the system over time that it's themed around something from vanilla WoW, and so it uses those mats. It's one of the cool things about the system.
Yeah. Now, the Wanderers Festival is going to be taking place on December 7th and only on the 7th. It's a one day celebration. And I feel like people are just going to completely breeze by and miss the Wanderers Festival again this year, because it seems to always land when there's a lot else going on in the game. So unless I feel like they add something super housing wise to this, like you can get a stone turtle statue that sits inside of your living room, whatever. Right? I don't necessarily feel like there's a lot of people going to participate in this, but it's in the Krasarang Wilds inside of I always called it Karasang back in the day, but yes, it's Krasarang Wilds back in Pandaria. You head on down to the beach and meet with Louis Lang, Shenzin Su, and you're able to basically help you listen to a lot of stories. There's a lot of stories on the beach, and there's like helping out turtles and all sorts of stuff that happens down there. So it's a neat little festival. It's one that I haven't done in a long time, because like I said, it just gets breezed past. Like December 7th is just a bad day for World of Warcraft to have a one-day thing happen, because it's just, there's a lot going on, man. A lot going on in the game.
Yeah, I mean, last year it was anniversary, right? Like It was a huge anniversary patch was going on, and that's where a lot of us were spending our time. I don't know that I've ever actually done this. This is one of the newer micro holidays. It wasn't one of the original Legion entrants into the process. And when they were new, I would go around and make sure I would do them all, the first time they came around. I don't know that I've ever done this, so I might try to. I got to keep in mind that this is happening, and if I have some time next Sunday, I should do it to see what it's about, because I can't honestly tell you that I've ever seen it So it might be new to me.
I vaguely remember being able to buy crates of animals that you can unleash. I remember there's things I remember about it the first time I did it that are like really vague memories of like, yeah, you could like buy up a crate of animals, then you could like release the crate of animals and they'd run across the sand. And like, I don't know. I remember that aspect of it. I'll have to go back and do it again at some point too, just to refresh my memory about it. But yes, it is something that's happened on December 7th. So if you're looking to check that out and get a refresher like us, then you can. Hotfixes for the week are all Legion Remix related, as you can imagine, with the big launch happening on Tuesday. They're not really tweaking things in the main game at the moment. They'll do that more after this patch happens. But we did see them fix some issues where some world quests were getting blocked. They fixed some issues where the Moritari would not skip the ruins of Orinar. They had multiple quests where Moritari forgot to skip things. So there's just that all got resolved. They resolved an issue causing Shetag to have no loot on Mythic. So, so if you're someone who is farming and being like, I just never get loot off this boss, that's now resolved as well. And then they had an issue causing standard characters above level 45 from entering the Battle of the Broken Shore. That also got fixed up too. So yeah, it's I don't know, it's Legion Remix has another month to go, a little bit over, about 6 weeks to go. So they're just making sure it's all tuned up for, hopefully, as you said, some sort of buff to get added to get that surge of players in over the holidays.
Yeah, hoping we see that in the last month, extra 50% bronze or something to that regard. Just speed it up. They did tease that there was going to be catch up and, additional buffs in the tail end. So we just don't know what shape they're going to take, but I think that would be logical, Yeah. Yeah, the funny thing with this, I mean, obviously the Antorus phase still kind of new. I mean, it came out a couple weeks ago now, but it's the newest part. So obviously, like most of the fixes we saw this week were related to campaign stuff and what have you from that content. The funny thing to me is the bugs that affect like standard characters. That's always just, it's weird. The crosstalk between the two modes it's just kind of funny. And I've had that work out to my advantage in some cases with Remix. And but there's also some really weird downsides. I mean, I don't know why you would be doing this right now on a standard character. Like, why would you do Battle for Broken Shore on a standard character? But obviously people were doing it and they realized that it wasn't working right. It seems like Legion Remix would just be the thing to do if you wanted to be playing Legion content right now. But hey, it's still out there. You can do it. So players are going to be doing it.
Yeah. Now, we did finally get the announcement for when Midnight is going live. A lot of, guesses have been going out there. It was pretty much bang on what we were expecting. It'll be March 2nd, 2026 at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific time. For those who are looking to hop in, that's a worldwide release, which means, obviously if you're over in Europe, that's like anywhere between 9 and midnight your time for this thing kicking off. And there obviously is housing early access starting on December 2nd, so that's this Tuesday. But yeah, March 2nd, 2026, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, we will see midnight launch and go, worldwide, and everyone hopping in and having a good time. And man, I am excited for this. I will have to plan some time off. I would expect that we probably will have a week of leveling, followed by a week of, like heroic kind of stuff, followed by mythic. I feel like that's what we're going to see, but that's just a guess. We have no real information about this yet. So it's just the announcement of when it's going live. So we'll obviously get to that probably in January or February is when they'll start talking about that stuff more.
Yeah. We don't have like the launch schedule or whatever. They'll announce that later on in the process. I guess this means that it'll be February 27th for early access. If you have I guess you have to have the Epic Edition for the 3-day early access. But that's what they've done in the past, where it's like, it's a Monday launch because it's a worldwide launch. So once we hit midnight GMT is kind of when they push it. And so then that means that the early access would be Friday in that same kind of time frame.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm expecting. I mean, I'm certainly looking forward to Midnight, despite all of the swirling kind of stuff about it. Obviously, it's a new expansion. It's exciting. It's a little less exciting maybe than some previous expansions we've seen because we just knew so much about it even before it ever really got formally announced, right? Like we knew the setting and we knew the the title, and we knew, like, just from playing the current expansion, we knew that it was going to be a really direct kind of continuation of the events at the end of the expansion. And so it wasn't kind of, peeling the lid back on this whole new, sandbox for us to play in. All that stuff was more on the table than they've done before. This is exactly kind of when I was expecting it to be. I figured it would either be the first or second week of March for the release of the expansion. I feel like this is not quite. It's basically, let's call it 17 months, right? From War Within to Midnight. It's not quite 18 months. I think it's too fast. Like, I'm not really emotionally ready for a new expansion cycle to start up this early. I guess it's better to err on the side of releasing stuff too fast than not fast enough. But it's practically December, right? It's November 30th as we record this. I don't know that I'm in a place where I feel like I need a new WoW expansion in 3 months' time, like to be actually playing the new expansion on a pre-patch or whatever in 3 months' time, based on where we're at with the current state of the game. So I feel like there's, that's just where I'm at. It's not like, oh, I'm not playing this or I'm going to take a break or something. Like, I do feel like that like 21 month kind of cadence that they've had in the past between some expansions, that feels really good to me. Just give it a little bit more room to breathe. But I saw this coming a mile away because of stuff that they said about how they want to release it and just teases that they made and then just timing on stuff and the consistency that they've released updates to the live game over the last couple expansions. It's like, yeah, this is right in line with what they've been saying and doing. So, here we go. But I think that's one big reason for me where I've just been comfortable kind of disconnecting from retail for right now, and I'm not slamming away on stuff, whatever, because I need to get some of that downtime. I need to do other stuff with my time. I need to play other games, So, just I do think one thing I do want to say is I think the release date announcement was really weird to me. It was so low key. They put out like a 20-second YouTube video with some recut clips from the intro, fully rendered cinematic. And it just had the graphic for the release date. And it's like, here you go. It's not a lot of fanfare, and it's released at a weird time, right? Like it kind of buried in the US. Like there's just
holiday stuff,
a lot more eyeballs stuff. Holiday stuff, Black Friday sales, Cyber Monday, all this stuff. It's just, it kind of got lost. I almost forgot that they announced it this week when I was putting the notes together. I'm like, oh yeah, right. That was a thing that happened earlier this week. And I wonder how long they had it. How long were they targeting this release date, or what kind of milestones they need to hit? Because I feel like they got a lot bigger media push off some other stuff they did recently. I was surprised actually that they didn't do it when we got the big cinematic reveal and everything. Cause I think the time frame seemed pretty kind of locked in.
Yeah.
I mean, it was far out, but they've done far out, release announcements before. So I felt like when they had all those eyeballs on that stuff, that maybe, I was actually surprised we didn't get a release date then. And so they kind of just snuck it out Thanksgiving week on their way out the door. Just a little, it didn't feel like a lot of fanfare around it to me.
Yeah, so it's interesting, right? So I don't disagree with you. I think that's a totally valid way to feel about the WoW stuff and the pacing and when this is coming out. Like, this could have been a April or May release, and that would have made this tail end of the expansion longer, and what that would have felt like for players and given them more time over that period of time. But I think part of that feeling for me comes from when they announced the trilogy that they were doing, right? We anticipated, they announced there'd be a faster launch schedule, so we anticipated a faster launch schedule. And so for me, I think what it is the hype train for Midnight hasn't started yet. The hype that sort of is getting people really into being excited for it and looking forward to it and really wanting to be on board for it. I think that cinematic was neat, and it certainly sort of was the teaser that was needed to sort of get people interested and paying attention to Midnight and paying attention to World of Warcraft again during that lull that was happening there. But I think what's going to happen is we're going to hit end of January, early February. And that's when we're going to see the actual hype train start to move towards midnight, where it's okay. Here's announcements of what pre-patch are going to look like. Here's pre-patch landing. Here's the storyline of pre-patch stuff that leads into what's going on for it. Here's talk about the early release and what you're going to be able to do in early release. Here's talk about, what the schedule is going to be for raiding and how the raids are going to look and how they're launching. And, a lot more like how they're going to look is in the timeline of what that's going to look like. And I think that is really where we're going to see people start to get excited and ramped up and pushing for that expansion. Because previously with expansions, we'd be at BlizzCon, which, we're in November. We would have been at BlizzCon earlier this month. And at BlizzCon, they would go, here's the cinematic for Midnight. And we wouldn't have even known it was called Midnight, but they go, here's our the next World of Warcraft thing. They wouldn't even announced it. You would have just seen it start up and start playing. And it would have been the Sunwell, cinematic that we saw. And people would have been bouncing off the walls with excitement. And they would have done March 2nd in big text. And everyone would be bouncing off the walls with March 2nd. And that's all we'd be able to talk about for the next, 3 months would be what that's going to be like, how it's going to happen, what's going to happen with it, because it's announced on such a large, grandiose scale that we then attach all of that emotion to that thing, right? And so whenever we think about it, we're like, oh yeah, when we were at BlizzCon, they announced that. It was so exciting, and everyone was so excited. Then you spent 2 days talking about it with people, and you got to talk to the devs about it and hear from them, and like that was so neat that I think that part of the hype train isn't attached at the moment, right? So like really we're in the, okay, here's a Twitter announcement is where I saw it. I saw it pop up on Twitter being like, oh, hey, here's when the launch is happening. And you're like, great. And yeah, it was sandwiched between like PlayStations are on sale and, do you have enough deodorant going forward? It's cheaper now. Like whatever it was, like that's where that ended up being in my feed.
The big box of macaroni and cheese.
Exactly, right? Like whatever it is.
That was the big thing. Yeah.
So like that's where that announcement sort of came out, and you're like, oh, okay, that's cool, March 2nd. Then you're like, all right, so I counted the weeks. I'm like, that's like 10 weeks. So that many more lockouts. So how many more mounts? And everyone on the team will get one, and sorting that out and sort of figuring those things out is really like where I was mentally with what was going on with, the launch, as opposed to having some sort of hype associated with it. So what I'm hoping for is the holidays are all about, hey, let's do some Turbulent Timeways on a regular basis. Let's wrap up the Legion remix stuff we want to wrap up. Let's have a breather with some games and some other stuff we want to do. And then you get into January, and January is okay. We're kind of in the countdown on lockouts for raids. So let's make sure people are wrapping up what they want to wrap up. And then towards the end of January is when we start to get this like rolling, steady release of posts and information and, whatnot of what's happening with this. And then we hit February with pre-patch, and, pre-patch is the non-combat add-ons. So like, let's just see what this is going to feel like when we have, no combat add-on stuff kicking in, and we have all their new UI stuff changes, and we have like all that stuff just starts launching in. All the character and class changes come in. Like it'll be really interesting to sort of experience the game for that month. And then we have the launch of Midnight, and that's going to be a huge exploration of these new zones that we're super excited to go and check out, and the revamp and all the, renewed. We get to fly in that area. We haven't flown in that area before. Like there's just so many neat things that we'll be able to do in Midnight that I think that's when the real hype will start happening. So I feel like we just haven't got, like, the train just hasn't arrived yet, right? Like we're just waiting in the station, and they're playing commercials on a TV that's, a 14-incher up behind plexiglass that's got scratches on it. And that's really all we have for Midnight so far.
Yeah. Well, I think the other thing for me personally too is so much of everything about Midnight, the entire conversation is about add-ons.
Yeah.
That's all we've really been talking about since Alpha started. And it's just a bummer to me, like it's not that interesting to me to begin with. I don't think that it matters to me that much as a player, but it also matters a lot to people who it matters to, and then they're not happy. And so that I don't like, you know what I mean? I want the people that I play with to like what they're doing. And so it's just been that sort of circular conversation for months. We're still in it, and they're still tweaking stuff. And then it's still, it's good for this, but it's not good for that. And it's like, there's a game to be played. Like there's an adventure to go on with the expansion. There's new content to explore, whether or not you can use add-ons in it or not. And I think part that conversation and that dominating the entire space around midnight is also a thing that makes me go, I can't engage with this right now on like an emotional level. Right. I can't be excited about this because we're kind of in the weeds with all this, user interface stuff, and it's hard to get excited about just playing stuff right now.
I'm with you. I agree. And I think that conversation will die down a lot more, obviously, as we get closer to launch and as things are more firm and we're sort of seeing where the add-on stuff is at, because they're still tweaking that week to week. So we have feedback about stuff in this episode that we're going to move into now and actually talk about that sort of stuff anyways. It's not add-on necessarily, but it's feedback based off of changes Blizzard's making. So first and foremost, Midnight beta test development notes. They have further improved the nameplate stacking that is now live in beta. So these changes prevent nameplates from going below the unit that they are attached to, and they should no longer shuffle positions in the stack as often. We are aware of another issue where units in separate packs will sometimes have their nameplates overlap, and we'll be addressing this soon. So again, like they're working their way through it. Like a bunch of videos came out about like, this is stuff that's broken inside of beta right now. And you're like, it's good that these videos are being created. Do not expect that this is what's going to go live. Like, they're going to fix it, guys. Like, they're going to fix it. So here's the fix. It's coming in. They're starting to work on it, making sure that gets addressed. So good. I'm pleased they're doing it.
Yeah, I mean, they need to. They absolutely have to get this right. I'm not surprised that it's been messy so far, but their plates have been bad for most players, or I don't want to say most, but many players have replaced the default plates for many years, right? And we haven't seen substantial updates to plates ever, basically. They made little tweaks here and there. I am maybe one of the minority that I don't use a plate add-on. I don't know. I just always was used to the default plates, and I guess I just expect other people to carry me because they are using add-ons that show them more information on the plates and they tell me what to do. I don't know. I never really felt like that. I feel like I could manage them. I agree that they're not great. I think the direction that they're moving with the information that you can see on the plates is really good. But I haven't done any dungeons or anything on alpha or beta, so I don't know. I've seen people complaining about the unusable plates because they just move around too much. And that's a thing they definitely need to tamp down.
Yeah.
I mean, again, it's a work in progress, but I feel like this is one thing, we're on a hard timer now. Like, they're not going to bump this release date. They bumped a couple release dates over the years, but the last one was Shadowlands. And, that was in the kind of the darkest days of COVID that was getting developed and shipped. So that was understandable. That one got pushed. This is not getting pushed. And so the plates got to be as good as they can be by the time that, I guess by pre-patch, really, although nobody will care that much about War Within Dungeons at that point. So by March, these have to be very strong. We know they're going to keep working on it, but I guess this is what they want, is people in there playing it.
Yeah.
You have the plates, they stink, you don't like it, and you don't like it because they move around too much. Okay, let's get in there and make them work better. Yeah.
Yeah, and I will be the first to point out that a lot of the videos that showed off how bad the nameplates were involve people pulling like 25 mobs at the same time, and that creating the issue. Now, that shouldn't be a problem. It should be something that they can resolve just in the logic of how the nameplates work. But I also understand that when Blizzard was pushing this out the door, they should be, but they probably weren't pulling 25 mobs at the same time. They were probably pulling like 8 and seeing how that worked. So yeah, the people who do the ginormous, ridiculous pulls in Mythic Plus, that's where you're going to have to try and accommodate that crowd. Because yeah, you're going to have them pull a huge number of things at the same time and make sure that the logic works and nameplates aren't just rotating around in a big circle on your screen as you try and click on the mob that's trying to cast and you can't find it. So yes, we'll see how all that goes, but I'm glad they're working on it. All right, Transmog beta updates. This is for November 25th. Well, we had a whole conversation last week, and Kyvax was listening. We came out here to post saying, hey, I've got some quick updates on the development and design of the new Transmog features. We're working on making it so that an outfit slot unlocks our warband wide rather than per character, which we knew already. We already talked about that last week. We're also continuing to adjust pricing, including reductions to the cost of set outfits. We're planning to reduce the cost to save a full outfit by about 60%. We will significantly reduce the cost to unlock slots, as in the current public beta, the unlock cost of the outfit slots will increase depending on how many you have already unlocked. The overall cost to unlock outfit slots will be reduced by about 80%. We're planning to increase the total number of outfit slots available from 20 to 50. We've seen a lot of player feedback who feel they need the extra flexibility of a lot of slots. We expect most or all of the pricing updates to come with the next beta build, currently expected to arrive December 3rd. The Warband-wide update will hit beta at a later date. As always, thank you very much for your feedback. So, a few things to unpack here. First and foremost, they are saying they're looking to adjust pricing for the cost of set outfits. Now, whether or not that's an outfit you've already set, or whether that's a actual tier set is what he's referring to, I'm not clear on. But if he's talking about, like, hey, if you're going to put on a tier set, we're just going to make that cheaper to begin with because it all goes together. Sure. But they're planning to reduce the cost to save a full outfit by about 60%. So currently it's 42 or 4,500 gold to do that. That's obviously going to drop substantially. We're talking about like almost 3,000 gold coming off of that in cost. So that'll be a dramatic drop in the cost of transmog across the board. And if that is a going forward, then obviously as transmog would have gotten more expensive at midnight, it'll be substantially cheaper than it previously was. Maybe it doesn't even get back up to the 4,000 gold range per outfit by the time we're done midnight. Who knows? The overall cost to unlock outfit slots being reduced by 80% is great. Good to see, but they're also increasing the amount of slots from 20 to 50, and the cost of unlocking slots will increase depending on how many you've already unlocked. So that doesn't mean that the 49th and 50th slot might not cost 700,000 gold each to do. It may, but you're going to be able to get the first 20 real easy and cheap is what this really means. And probably the first 35, depending on what we see. We'll talk about it once they actually do the launch. Jason will get back on and do some more science, and we'll figure out what this looks like. But yeah, and overall, these are great changes. They clearly heard the opinions and wanted to make sure they were addressing those concerns as they came up.
Yeah, I think clearly the target initial price targets were just too high for players to absorb for a system that's supposed to be about flexibility. So yeah, this is good. Saving a full outfit, like just picking the items that you want, should be about like 2,500 gold, I think. Call it. It's a little rough napkin math, but it should be in that area, which that's like better than what we're doing right now, I feel like, if you mogging over every single slot. So that's good. I said it seems like there's an extra zero on a lot of these prices, and they ended up reducing it not by 100 by that like factor, but 80% is a huge reduction overall. Even with like they're more than doubling the amount of slots you can buy. I don't need 50 slots. Okay, like I'm good with like I think 20 would be more than I would ever even use. But some players, especially like we said with the last week, we had a big discussion about this topic. Situational mogs, right? Your mog changes when your character enters this state. People are going to want to use that in ways that have never been possible to use in World of Warcraft before. You have a house on a plot. You have like a couple big new situations that you might want to dynamically adjust your mog in. People are going to want maybe 3 sets just right there between like their plot inside their house in the city, right? And then then in a 4th slot for whatever they want to wear into battle. But you might want to have different stuff for raid versus dungeon versus outdoor world, whatever. So, again, for me, I think 20 is probably overkill. I've probably come up with a good dozen outfits or so that I want to set up for my characters and have them swap for different situations. Some people, this is their thing, and now they get to like it's going to be It's still going to be expensive to get 50 slots, but that's going to be for the people that really want that, right? They want that flexibility. They want to have all of those things set up. They want to use it for different situations. So yeah, you're going to pay a premium for that. That's going to get pretty expensive. But for the average player who just wants to engage with the system, collect some mog, have a couple different situational mods set up and just enjoy it, it's not going to be some big barrier to unlock the whole system. At least to the point where they're getting what they need out of it. The people who transmog is the only true end game, and that's what they want to do, you can do it, and you can take it to a much higher level than, just somebody who's casually engaging with it is. So I think that's great. I mean, these are, I wasn't surprised. I was surprised to see how fast it came in. It was basically a week that we had this pricing, and then they said, hey, yeah, okay, you guys are right. We'll change it up. So I think it's great. Now I'm in a position where it's like, okay, I'm going to just buy slots until the price per slot starts to feel a little hefty. Yep. And then I'm good to go. I have no designs on doing 50 slots. I can't imagine that just my approach that I would ever even want them. Well, but I know people will. So it's cool that it's there if that's how you want to go.
Yeah, 50 slots is 8 outfits a season plus 18 left over to do whatever you want with, right? Like it's really like if you're like, oh, well, I have my Sunday dress that I like to wear, and then I have my fancy evening night out outfit, and then I have but you have these for different seasons of the year. There's 8 right there, and you sort of like start to piece those things together, and you can be like, wow, like you literally could with 50 slots be like, all right, it's Tuesday, what do I feel like wearing on Tuesday, and sort of pull up your Tuesday outfit if you want to. Like, you do whatever you want to do with this kind of stuff, because there's just so much variability with it that I can see people really having a different outfit for each day of the week or each occasion they want to go to. Or it would be neat if they had, one of the parameters was when a certain server time of the day happened, that an outfit would change. So you're like, if you had your morning coffee and your tracksuit outfit, and then, when it hit noon, you suddenly got a little bit more dressed up to go out and do chores, and then you hit evening and you went into something a little bit more fancy for a nice fancy evening. Or like, it'd be hilarious if there was just time-based transmog change that you could add, implement into there. So it'd be neat to see. So I like the variability. Yeah. I think this is a good amount of slots. I'll be curious what the cost, and I'm still going to have the thing in my head of like, hey, this would be a neat thing to have a goal for an expansion, is how many slots do you want to unlock in the expansion? Have that gold kind of goal that you're going for of how you're going to earn that. It gives people more reasons to play, of being like, hey, I want to get 30 to 35, that slot range from 30 to 35 is what I want to increase to over the span of this expansion. That's going to cost X amount of gold. Let's figure out how I can make that kind of gold. It would just be, it'd be a neat thing to do. So I think that's cool. And then please put a feat of strength in for unlocking all of them, because that'll be hilarious for people who want to link their feat of strength for unlocking all 50 slots. And then name something funny and punny. Like, come on now.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's got to be the best part of being on the team that names the achievements and feats. Overall, just this is what we want to see. I think just this a dialogue. Like, okay, we're gonna come in at this level with this new idea. We're gonna have a feedback period. We're gonna collect your feedback. We're gonna listen to you, and we're going to pivot quickly. Right? They're not making it free. It's not going to be free to get 50 slots, but it's going to be a lot more palatable to a much wider portion of the player base to engage with transmog. Isn't that why you make the change to the game in the first place, right? Like, you want to have a cool system that is more fun to play and that players are going to get more out of using. So don't lock them out with frankly, I think some of the gold costs in the initial wave were a little absurd for what we were getting, right? It's just transmog. It's not even like bank space is one thing, because that's just huge quality of life you're purchasing, and also more data that has to be attached to your character, I presume. But Mog is too, but it's like there's no real benefit. Like the benefits are how you feel about playing the game. And so that was my whole thing with the initial wave that we saw, was like, this goes against the point of updating the system. And now this seems like it's going to land in a much better place. And I'm really excited for, what you were just talking about with time of day and stuff.
Yeah.
As time goes on, you got to think like they'll add more triggers for situations, and that they could do some really fun stuff with that, as time goes on. Even like, dude, this holiday's active in game. And so you have your Pilgrim's Bounty mod that just automatically turns on for the week that Pilgrim's Bounty's on the calendar.
What an amazing time what an amazing way to remember what holiday's happening, right? You log into the game and you're just suddenly in your Pilgrim's Bounty or your, Winter Veil or whatever it is outfit. You're just suddenly dressed up like you're going to Brewfest. Like you just log in, right? You logged out the night before because you did raid or whatever it was, and that was all fine. You log in the next day and you're like, oh, dude, Brewfest must be on. I'm in my Brewfest outfit. This is awesome.
I'm in my Lederhosen. It's time to go to Ironforge.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, come on, right? It'd be so cool. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to that aspect of it a lot. It'd be a lot of fun. So, let's see what that feat of strength is being called. That'll be fun. All right, next post from Kyvax here. This is feedback on damage meters. So, in this post, they reiterate that, damage meters in beta are far from their final form. There's a lot of custom handling that damage meter add-ons and sites like Warcraft logs use to consolidate damage sources from players like spells like Whirlwind or Immolation Aura into a single event. And they're going to have similar handling in place in a few weeks, so they're still working on it. Currently, several encounter mechanics, and self-damage sources are being picked up by damage meters. And these are bugs, and they're being fixed. And based on feedback, they're going to adjust how damage from pets and guardians is sorted, with the goal of them being mingled in the list from most to least damage dealt, instead of always sorting them at the bottom. Which I think is interesting, because I kind of want the pets all at the bottom, but I guess it kind of makes sense to put them in a ranking as well. There's a lot of display settings already available in options, but they've iterated on improving the format of your defaults. For an example, in the future beta update, the default damage done view will show both total damage and DPS side by side. And they're working on an enemy damage taken breakdown. So you can see how much damage each enemy in an encounter took from each player. This is several weeks out, but they're working on a death recap functionality as well, because it's important to have a clear understanding of what caused death. Hey, look, they listened to the show. This is exactly what I told them to do, and it's happening. Yay. Over the next few weeks, we'll implement many updates to damage meters, always considering that cosmetic or readability changes are a lower priority than basic functionality. And again, we've turned on the damage meters in the beta before implementing all of the above. So get early feedback. Feedback is super useful. We want to prioritize our work based on what's going on and what's most important for and / impactful for players. So thank you so much, and keep the info coming. So yeah, thanks Kyvax getting in there and putting this post out. I'm really glad to see what the team has planned for this. And yeah, like two of my biggest things that I mentioned previously of enemy damage taken from, who, break down on that. So you can tell who's switching to the ads, who's supposed to be switching to the ads. And you can tell what happened to you when you died with a death recap. Coming in. Great. Perfect. Glad that's happening. They're trying to pick up what they can from sites like Warcraft logs and whatnot that are using consolidated spells into, properly showing how the damage is happening when you do a whirlwind or some sort of AoE. Great. I'm thrilled. Keep up the good work, guys. I'm looking forward to seeing what it looks like.
Yeah, I like the fact that, Randy kind of points out, listen, we know that the damage meters are not great right now, but we didn't want to not have them for in-game testing. So that's good. I think being upfront about that just lets everybody understand what's going on. And yeah, we had a couple big discussions last week about transmog pricing and the way that system was working, and about damage meters, early iteration, and what we need to see. And then we got posts from the Blues within a couple of days of us having that conversation on the show that was addressing a lot of the stuff that we talked about. So, yeah. It's nice because it's like these are conversations that are happening all over the community, right? Like none of this stuff happens in any kind of a bubble. And there were times when it felt like Blizzard didn't care, or like stuff was good enough, and that, hey, add-on devs will fix it or whatever, right? Or, we have a philosophy that we're upholding, and this is just the way the game's going to be, and your feedback is valuable, but we're not going to act on it. I'm not saying they should let us design the game for them, or they should just do whatever we tell them. But, when it comes to stuff like this, again, these are tools that we're used to having, details and stuff like that. They've been invaluable over the years to understand what is happening in combat, what is happening after combat. I think enemy damage taken, like this is crucial for progging and stuff when you have fights where there's target switching is important or whatever. Like that functionality needs to be there. You need to be able to see, okay, who is not paying attention to this ad, right? Or how do we make sure that we don't reach this point of the fight happening because we didn't damage this particular target enough. So that's good. Death recap was an essential thing we were talking about last week. You need to know why deaths are occurring. Sometimes just having that information unlocks part of a strat that you need to be doing, right? You don't understand it because you don't understand what the consequences are. Then you see somebody died from a thing and you went, oh, why did they die from that thing? How do we stop that from happening?
Yep.
Oh, we need to account for it because this ad needs to be in this position, or we need to interrupt this cast, or we need to make sure that stacks on a target don't reach this level or something, right? And sometimes it doesn't really click until you look at the fight and see it and somebody dies from something. But without a death recap and without a good log on that, it's not as useful as it could be. You just know that somebody died without a recap. So yeah, really good. Just a good post. I think they're certainly moving in the right direction, and they've been communicative about kind of where they want to get to. So I appreciate that. I think I'm happy with this post. I'm happy to hear that they're looking at the exact two things that I want to see in a damage meter. At the end of the day, do I care all that much about how much DPS somebody did or how much total damage they did, especially if we killed the boss? Like, maybe I do or don't, but do I care about, hey, is somebody following the dance? Are they following the mechanics? Are they following the strat? Are we executing these things properly? Are we prioritizing targets the right way? Yes, like that is really, I care more about my damage meter doing that than basically anything else. Yeah. So, good stuff. I'm glad that they're doing it. I wish we could see more of it right now, but it's going to be a waiting game. They've given themselves enough time, I guess, considering how rapidly we've seen changes come into the baseline UI stuff throughout this process. They got like you said, 10 weeks or whatever it is. Like, they have time to get it done, but it needs to be done for sure. Like we can't be having posts like this come out in late February. Like, hey, we know that the meters still suck, but we have some good ideas on how to make them better. Like, no, they need to be better now. Now is the time. Like, please keep improving them after March 2nd. But, we got to get all this stuff in the package for midnight launch for sure.
Yeah, and I'd expect, or at least hope, that eventually we'd have an advanced tab on the damage meters, which would pop out graphs, and you can overlay your damage versus someone else's damage and see what they're doing versus what you're doing. And like, all those features are things that I eventually would want to have. But that's all stuff that, to me, can be backburnered because I can do that through Warcraft logs, and still will be able to do that through Warcraft logs later on, of like, hey, this person's outperforming me, how can I fix that, and pull up all that info currently on an outside site. So I don't need that built into my damage meter, but it would be cool if you could eventually do something like that, and if it was a toggle to be able to break that out and check it out the way you wanted, I think would be really neat. So it would be neat if eventually that happened, but again, I think they're focusing on the right things for getting stuff in place for launch, so this works the way it needs to. Okay. It is a new month starting tomorrow, which means there is a new trading post. The December trading post, as they've sort of put it, is cool as ice. Apparently it's willing to sacrifice our love. So we have the Kalawak Crest Horn that is coming out, and this is a new moose mount. So I am all over this. I'm super excited. This is a moose with nice sort of like fur padded armor on it, with a bucket full of fish, because someone's clearly been out fishing on this, and has not warmed up the antlers in a long time because they're all covered in ice. So very cool mount. Really excited about that. Looking forward to it. That to me
this is just rad. Like, this is a Canadian tax, basically. Like, all Canadian players just have this amount of tender removed from their accounts on December 1st, and then you have your moose. Exactly. That's how it goes.
And then they have the Noble Winters collection, which I'm super excited for. This, to me, I feel like is something that could have ended up on the store, like the actual store, and people would have dropped $15, $20, $25 on this thing pretty easily. It is a really nice transmog for your character, with this beautiful whites and blues, and even like fluorescent blues that shine through it and glow on it, with just a great outfit in general. And it comes with, you can get Bundled Up Bob, which is a pet, which is a little seal pup that has fake antlers on a hood that it's wearing. It's basically wearing like a pullover, ear flap hood with antlers on it, and is adorable. So like this to me is like another guarantee. Both of these are guaranteed buys. Like I'm super glad I've been saving tender because I'm gonna go wild apparently during December for this stuff, because these both look awesome. I don't know what they're gonna cost, but I'm gonna buy them. So that to me is like, this could have, like, this reads as a store stuff to me. Like this reads as, hey, we built this would end up on the Blizzard store for sure.
It kind of evokes Jaina's BFA costume redesign. Like it's a really cool design. Yeah, the pet's pretty cute. The moose mount is pretty great. So yeah, some cool unique stuff. This stuff is new. I don't remember having seen this before. So yeah, some cool stuff. Very, very wintry. I think the moose I'll probably end up getting. I just like big animals as mounts, I always think they're cool. So I'll probably end up buying that one. I haven't spent a lot of Trader's Tender lately. A lot of the posts haven't really been landing for me. So I got a nice stack of Tender, and I might get some of the stuff. I mean, I will say, like, the Nobles Winter Collection it is a really cool set, especially for like Winter Mog, but it looks more like caster gear to me. It doesn't really look like something a warrior would be wearing.
Well, but maybe this is your stroll through the woods outfit that you have. True. When you're out and about doing
dynamically mog it
exactly.
For when I'm in if I go back to Azure Span or something for some reason. It just snaps on. Yeah,
exactly. We also have the Sky Witch's attire, which is that anime style sort of like Sailor Moon outfit that came out a while back around Love is in the Air, and then they did like another iteration of it. This is now the winter iteration of it, which is all purples and pinks and greens and whites. So if you want a winter version of that, that's happening, as well as the Soaring Sky Fox, which is a fox mount that goes along with that attire as far as its styling goes, with pink eyes and a green headpiece and a lot of gold, sort of fashioned onto it. So if you're looking for that, that is also going to be available. We then move into weapons, and a lot of the weapons are ice, as you'd imagine, based off the theme for the month. So we have the Frozen Wand of the Ice Queen, which is basically an icicle mounted in silver. And then we have the Frozen Dirk of the Ice Queen, which is a larger icicle mounted in gold. And then we move into like the Frozen Axe of the Frostwolf and the Frozen Warglaives of the North. The Warglaives to me actually read as a bow the first time I saw them. They are basically a bow shape with a Warglaive, functionality, I guess, is the way that they went for it. They look really cool. All this stuff is very rad. Like the axe is Frostwolf heads, like dual Frostwolf heads on the axe head with ice as the actual blade. Never something you'd want to get hit by. It looks absolutely terrifying to be hit by. Similarly with the dragon's head on the Frozen Warglaives of N'Zoth. Definitely not something you want to get punched by. So yeah, definitely keep in mind that this is going to be an expensive month for those who like ice and frost stuff. I will say that it looks like the Cresthorn mount and Bundled Up Bob alone are 750 tender, and then you have to move into like what the actual set for the Noble Winters set is going to cost. So it is. Oh, there it is. It's 600. So it looks like I'm spending like 1350 just on those first two things that I want right off the bat. So yes, it'll be an expensive month for those who want to collect a lot of stuff, but we're also getting earmuffs. We're gonna have earmuff stuff in here. There's gonna be a blue sweatsuit that comes out with this. There's a bunch of fun the Noble's Winter Collection is in there as well. So there's lots of fun stuff for people to pick up and check out. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, the new weapons, they all look like stuff from the Fall Lich King patch, basically, just with new models, like the stuff from those dungeons and everything from back in Wrath. They're very Northrend looking type of weapons. So that's really cool. The Frozen Warglaives are awesome looking, but I'm just not sure what I would mog them with on my Demon Hunter, but yeah, I don't know. There's also like there's a shield on offer, which is always, that's my go-to, right? Like if you play a shield class, you can't have a shield that doesn't match the rest of your stuff. So that sort of determines everything else that you do. So I'll have to check it out and see. Oh, because we don't have previews of those models and it's not live in the game quite yet. Also the winter the Wintervale stuff is coming back, a bunch of it. You know, the Great Candied Blade and all that, like the candy cane looking stuff,
Right.
and all that stuff is back for December, of course. So if you're in the market for any of that, that's there. So if you kind of are into that, you know, winter Mog vibe or Northrend stuff or Wintervale, there's a lot of stuff on the trading post this month to drop some tender on for sure.
Yeah, they actually have a Frostwolf hunting quiver as well, which I was able to sneak a peek off of Wowhead what it looks like. And yeah, it is a blue frosty looking quiver with arrows in it that goes on your back. So like just neat stuff that I think people will be really excited to sort of hop in there and grab. And yes, I will absolutely have to get my Lion's Crest earmuffs, which are blue Alliance themed earmuffs with a golden lion for the Alliance symbol embossed on the ears. I think that'll be quite hilarious to pick up. They did.
That's like a thing they could do as maybe in previous years they would have done as like a Wintervale present or something.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. The Frostwolf earmuffs are the Horde version sides. So they're a red band with the same sort of Frostwolf fur and then a red Horde symbol on the ears. So if you're looking for that, you can find Horde versions too. And then the overall monthly reward is actually something we haven't gotten in a long time. It's a new Scarab. Scarab mounts used to be like the all sought after thing way back in the classic days. And so we are getting the Jeweled Sapphire Scarab, which is actually a new model of Scarab that they put in. And it will be able to fly, and it is exactly as it sounds. It is a jeweled and sapphire colored flying bug that you can fly around on that looks a little bit regal in how they've designed it. It's like got a bit of that horn going on, the big mandibles. Yeah, but all gold, very shiny.
Kind of a weird choice for like a very winter themed thing, because it's like it's an insect, right? Which you don't really
dies in the winter.
Yeah, you don't associate the insects with the frozen wastes of Northrend or whatever. But you know, hey, it's a mount, so mount collectors are usually happy about free mounts, and you know, a lot of times when you have those trading posts where you don't get a mount at the end of it, it's very controversial.
Yes.
So we don't have that this month. You get your free mount. I would have preferred if we could get like a moose palette swap. Give me a couple different moose choices. Give me one for free and let me buy one. But you know, a little variety with your big animal to ride around on this month.
A candy cane moose. I would have taken a reindeer. We don't have a lot of reindeer in the game.
Oh yeah, that would be cool.
A reindeer mount for the overall mount for the month. But who knows? Maybe that's next year. We'll see how all that goes. But yes, exciting with the trading post and what's going on with it. Okay, we do have enough time, so we're going to sneak in this email from Rob, who wrote into us. Now, Rob was someone who had initially written the show a while back, basically stating that they had been working on a tanking add-on for World of Warcraft when all the add-on changes first started coming in, and that those changes have really affected things. And so we had our entire episode where we talked about, well, speculated to a certain degree, but also talked about the changes that were coming up and what was happening with them. And Rob had replied to that, appreciating it. So it says, "Hi both. I just wanted to say a huge thank you for covering the state of add-ons on your show. I genuinely believe you are the right people to listen to, and your conversation often helps move things forward. I really appreciate the work you do, and it was great hearing the discussion that came from my message. The recent Blizzard changes have actually helped me shape a version of my add-on concept that can survive and hopefully thrive in Midnight. With a bit of luck, and depending on other commitments, I am aiming to have something ready for launch. You are absolutely spot on in saying that Blizzard seemed to be speaking mainly to the major add-on authors. Information filtering down was limited, so I've been largely relying on Discord communities and whatever details become available. I thought you might like to see what version 1 is currently at. Where version 1 is currently at. So I've attached a few screenshots. We actually got to take some peeks at his add-on that he's been putting together. It's very text-based for now, presented in a simple pop-up, but a broader vision is much clearer. Parry is designed to be a self-reflection tool for tanks, entirely player-focused, never judging other players. At the moment of death, it feeds back key information like missed defensive, active mitigations, parry being the name of the add-on. I'm just putting that out there so people aren't confused about the ability. Active mitigation gaps or usable potions. The goal is to turn that data into approachable coaching, icons, tooltips and plain English tips to help tanks, especially newer players, understand what they could have done differently without ever calling out teammates or comparing performance. Thanks again for everything you do. Your conversation generally helped me keep moving forward on this. Cheers, Rob. Yeah, I appreciate that we were able to help you move forward on it in the sense of knowing that the conversation is happening and out there and that we are there, voicing something that you can relate to, or at least in support of you. I'm glad we're able to do that for you, Rob. That's really great. I'm excited about your add-on. I think this is something that the base game needs in a big way, to be honest. I think being able to go, hey, when you were tanking that boss on that last pull, you died because you moved out of your consecrate as a paladin, or because you didn't hit, your shield block often enough, and there was this big lull in downtime, and that's when your health spiked down, and you just never got recovered back up from that. That, to me, is information that is only discoverable by the person who did it, or someone looking at Warcraft logs. That's the only way you really figure that out, because otherwise it's really hard and people are just taking guesses of what might have happened, because typically you're the tank and you are in front of the boss and everyone else is behind the boss or farther away, and they're dealing with mechanics and they're not watching you specifically in every action you do. So you're the only one who can do that, and even you are typically watching it through like giant boss figure, so you can't really see your character all that well, or right up against a wall, so all you can see is the very back of your character. And you're in a situation where, it's a little bit hard to keep track of that stuff. So if there was a call out that happened or a mechanic you had to dodge and you missed hitting a defensive, that's something where you might not even consciously recognize you did that, because you still hit it the time after that when you normally do, but you took the big hit you shouldn't have taken, and it created a snowball effect of what's happening. So I love anything that can sort of look at your play and go, hey, here's the window where this didn't happen. There are some websites out there you can feed a Warcraft log into and see that information, but something live in the game between pulls is where you need it, right? Because if you can improve pull after pull after pull on what you're doing and get your dance being better for that encounter, that is where you really see progression. If it's you do 30 pulls in an evening and then you go look at logs and then you start figuring out what you were doing wrong, you essentially were stagnant for that evening in progress, which, maybe your team overall did better through that, but you personally did not actually improve, some of the key points of your play that might have made a much larger change for you or a much better situation for you. So I'm excited about add-ons like this. I think it's great that you're putting it together, and I'm hopeful that, basically because yours is one that gathers information during combat, not displaying anything, and then tells you stuff afterwards, that the combat add-on changes aren't massively affecting what you're trying to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's always a tank shortage in the game, right? And tanking is intimidating to people. I think having a way that just presents players with clear information about, things to take in consideration while they're tanking, the way that Rob has it laid out, could maybe encourage people to try it and maybe find a new playstyle that they enjoy, and then round out some queues or fill out some groups. So it could be a really great tool to get people more involved in that aspect of the game. I'm glad that he's stuck with trying to find ways around the new restrictions and still make something useful to people. And he says that the screenshots that he's included are very text-based and kind of just an early iteration, but it's pretty robust, man. I mean, it shows you all kinds of different elements to consider in terms of, buffs, active mitigation, cooldowns, consumables, etc. So I think that's really great information to present to players. And yeah, the whole goal here is not that everybody in the group is using this add-on and it's some kind of collaborative effort for the tank to learn what they're doing. It's for the person playing the tank class to understand, okay, why did this happen to me in this situation, or what could I do better next time? I think that's a nice approach. But I'm glad to hear that he's continuing to work on it. It's really cool. The initial email was like, man, that's a bummer, because that would be a nice tool, and it's a shame that stuff like this is not going to be a possibility in future iterations of the game. But there's hope for it yet, and hey, cheers to add-on authors like Rob and others who are doing kind of smaller projects. They don't have the profile of a LVY or a Deadly Boss mods or whatever, but are in there doing the work and trying to make something useful for their fellow players, man. I think it's great.
Yeah. Okay, with that, I'd like to take a moment to thank our patrons. They contribute a ton to our show and help us to improve on the content we create. Huge thanks to our newest Exalted patron, Cobra. Thank you so much for hopping in there and supporting the show. We appreciate you very much. But I want to give a special shout out and thank you to Arajian, Anthony, Bradley, Bruce, Chris, James, Garrett, Kapawi, and Shorel. Thank you so much, patrons. You guys are what keep the show going. And I want to take a moment again. I did this last week. I'm going to do it again this week to just reiterate that we really recognize that, especially with like the government shutdowns in the States and, you know, other stuff that was going on, it's hard financially out there for folks. And we get it and we understand. And I've been writing little messages to individual patrons here and there, as you know, that we're sort of seeing some exit surveys from some people who need to go, or we're getting messages. I'm getting messages from DMs from people on Discord basically saying like, hey, financial situations are rough. You know, we're having to make decisions and we want to come back and support the show, but I need a little break or whatever it is to sort of, and it's like, absolutely. Like I really appreciate you guys. We both really appreciate everyone who supports the show and want to be sure you're doing well. And so we respect that entirely. And yeah, I'm big thank you to Cobra for hopping in and support the show. That means a lot. And thank you to all of our patrons who do. And you know, you got to put on your own oxygen mask first when it comes to this kind of stuff, guys. So we respect it and understand it, and just appreciate what you've given in the past, and you know, potentially in the future when you hop back in. So that's patreon.com/thestartingzone. If you're looking to become a patron, you can go to patreon.com/thestartingzone and hop in there. But we appreciate you. Thank you so much. And it's all about, you know, big thanks for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Cobra, thank you so much. Welcome aboard. The support is incredible, and we're glad to have you along with us. It means a lot. And yeah, I mean, it is, you know, hey, it's a rough moment for a lot of people. And it's also that time of year where stuff starts getting kind of real with the finances and the budgeting and everything. And there's other concerns. So we appreciate anything anybody's willing to throw our way. The show will always be free to download and listen to and everything. And, you know, Patreon or no, I don't think you could stop us from talking about the game and trying to, you know, have a platform in a conversation. You know, we would do the show with or without the Patreon. But the number one thing is the Patreon helps us so much with prioritizing the schedule, making sure we're getting weekly episodes where they're supposed to be, and all the costs associated with. I mean, we're starting to get a huge backlog of episodes at this point. I mean, over 700 it's a lot of episodes, you know, just to have all the hosting and have the stuff where you can find it and actually use it. I mean, the patrons help with that immensely. So thank you all for that. And as we always say, if you like today's episode, thank your patron.
Another great way to support the show is going over to your iTunes, your Apple Podcast, and leaving us those 5-star reviews. You have your Spotify too. They really help out. They boost up the charts, help more people find the show, all that fun stuff. That's going to wrap up episode 712 of The Starting Zone. If you want to check out show notes for this episode or leave us a comment on the show, you can head on over to thestartingzone.com, the official website for the Starting Zone podcast. If you want to leave us an email, some feedback, a question, whatever it is, you can do that at the Starting Zone. Yes, you can do that at thestartingzone@gmail.com, or reach out to us on Blue Sky at thestartingzone.bsky.social, or on X at The Starting Zone, or on Discord by joining our Discord server by going to thestartingzone.com/Discord. And we did a little giveaways on some of the social medias out there. So if you aren't following them, be sure you hop over and follow them over there, because there were some midnight epic editions that got handed out. And we do giveaways typically through the podcast, but these were such tight timelines that we were doing them through socials and saw really good growth there. So all the new listeners, welcome. Thank you for jumping in and supporting that. We appreciate it. And if you want to get your hands on some TSE gear, you can find that over at Dashery. So the store is thestartingzone.dashery.com, and check out all the designs on shirts and mugs and stickers and that kind of stuff. And Jason, where can folks find you on the internet?
You can find me on socials over on Twitter at Shieldwald, or on Blue Sky at jlucas.bsky.social. Mostly post stuff to Blue Sky, but I do check both sites, so come say hi either way. And you find video channels at twitch.tv/Shieldwald and youtube.com/Shieldwald. Been pretty quiet, but maybe with patch and stuff coming up, we'll fire the streams back up and start. I mean, I have to eventually embrace my destiny of being a cozy streamer and sit there and do my house and all that stuff. So check out the video channels for that as well.
And if you're trying to find me, you can find me on Twitter at Spencer_Downey, or over on Blue Sky at SpencerHD.bsky.social, or on Twitch at twitch.tv/SpencerHD, or youtube.com/@SpencerHD. And with that, for Jason and myself, we want to say thanks for listening, and jobs done.